From the White House to the C-suite, few business leaders have reached the heights of influence and achievement as César Conde. Now at the helm of NBCUniversal News Group, Conde steers America's #1 news organization, spanning broadcast, cable, and streaming. Tune in for an illuminating conversation with a visionary business mind reshaping the modern media landscape.
Now the man of the night, someone that I'm privileged to call a friend and a colleague, and someone that I respect tremendously. Be it said that when we invited César to be here tonight with us, he was not yet, hadn't added that new title to his resume. So César Conde is chairman of NBCUniversal International Group and, most recently, NBCUniversal Telemundo Enterprises. Congratulations. César serves on the executive committee of NBCUniversal and reports directly to the CEO of the company, Steve Burke. NBCUniversal International Group is responsible for the operations and international expansion of NBCU businesses outside of this country, of North America. The group is comprised of NBCU International TV and Film Group, NBCU International Networks, and NBCU International Production Divisions. César also oversees, which is so relevant for this evening and why we originally invited him in addition to all the international stuff he was doing, he oversees all digital at NBCU. So everything digital at NBCU, he oversees as head of NBCU Digital Enterprises, comprised of all the emerging digital properties. And I know you're going to speak to that this evening, some cool stuff going on there. NBCUniversal Telemundo Enterprises oversees and operates a premier and fast-growing portfolio of properties serving Hispanic America. And for those of you that aren't as well-versed with how many Latinos there are in America, it's about 56 million Hispanics in this country that Telemundo Enterprises connects with every day. It's comprised of its flagship Telemundo network, NBCUniversal, its cable network, Telemundo Internacional, which is literally Telemundo takes its programming and syndicates it pretty much around the world and around all over Latin America. The Telemundo local stations, Telemundo Digital Media and Emerging Business, and NBC Deportes. Prior to NBCUniversal, César was president of Univision Networks. He joined Univision in 2003 and served in a variety of senior executive capacities and is credited with transforming it into a leading global multi-platform media brand. Under his leadership, Univision's main broadcast network became the #1 network in America in July of 2013, regardless of language, for the first time in the company's 50-plus year history, and experienced its record ratings and profitability during his tenure. With César's oversight, Univision's portfolio grew from 3 to 12 broadcast and cable networks. Additionally, he was instrumental in the launch, proud to have been there that day with him, of the company's first English language network, Fusion, a joint venture with the Walt Disney Company. Social and community initiatives are core to Conde's business approach, and he has emphasized the importance of empowerment initiatives for the Hispanic community. While at Univision, he spearheaded the development of the Es el Momento National Initiative, working together with Bill and Melinda Gates, who he actually welcomed to Univision several years ago. He led the Ya es Hora Latino citizenship and voter campaign and launched the network's first Teletón USA broadcast. Prior to Univision, César served as a White House fellow, working directly for Secretary of State Colin Powell. Previously, he worked at Star Media in New York. It was an internet company focused on Spanish and Portuguese-speaking audiences. And before that, he was in the M&A group, Mergers and Acquisitions group at Solomon Smith Barney. He's a trustee of both the Aspen Institute and the Paley Center for Media. He's a full member of the Council on Foreign Relations and a young global leader for the World Economic Forum. He sits on the board of the Foundation for Excellence in Education and the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. He holds a bachelor's with honors from Harvard and an MBA from the Wharton Business School at UPenn, University of Pennsylvania. I can say that in addition to all of that, he's just an amazing guy. Humble as heck, feet on the ground, always there for others, always helping others. And I'm so happy that with this new role, he's able to spend more time here in his hometown of Miami. He grew up in Miami, went to Belen Jesuit High School, and he's a Miami boy, Miami guy that we're very proud of. And I've had the privilege of working with him directly as a colleague when we were together at Univision. I've had the privilege of calling him a client. He was my client at Univision. República was his, at the time, Univision's agency of record, and worked alongside him building some of these things that I mentioned. And I've had the privilege to watch him grow professionally and personally, and I think we've mutually had that, having been friends since we were young. And it's just a deep honor for me to welcome him again to the Idea Center. And I know you guys are in for a treat because right from Miami, César and the folks at NBCU are going to continue creating extraordinary content and programming that will go from here to the world. I always say that Miami is ground zero for Latino Hollywood. You know, what Latino Hollywood is, that is Miami. What LA is to Hollywood, Miami is to Latino Hollywood. This is the Mecca here. This is where they all live, where they all play, where all the celebrities hang out, where they have their homes, where they raise their children. And to be able to say that these artists and these folks don't have to go to Mexico City or to other countries to produce this programming, and they can do it right here in our beautiful city of Miami is pretty awesome. And to know that now César is leading that is pretty exciting. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Dan and César, thank you.
Well, thank you, George, not only for helping bring César to us tonight, but also for all that you've done to help get Market Hack off the ground as a launch partner, for sending some of your best people to us, and for your continued support. You're really a gem in this community, and we thank you. So I don't know if I was the only one sweating when I was listening to that bio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to César Conde número uno, César Conde número dos, and César Conde número tres, one for each title. Now, of course, it's just one man standing up here, but that's a resume of 3 people. So if that's okay, I'm going to refer to you as that. Is that?
You are too funny.
I'm just kidding. So I wanted to start off by talking about my 2-year-old daughter. Actually, my 3-year-old daughter. She just turned 3. And she's grown up. She's literally never watched traditional television. We cut the cord about 2 years ago. When she walks up to our big screen TV, she swipes it, right? Because she thinks it's an iPad, and she really is confused when she touches it and it doesn't respond. She watches streaming video of Daniel Tiger and Peppa the Pig on her Kindle Fire. She will never watch broadcast television. How do you think about people like my daughter and viewers, this next generation of viewers that are coming up?
Sure. Well, look, before I answer that, Dan, first, thank you for taking the time to prepare and speak with me to this group. I also just want to take a second to first thank Jorge Plasencia and República, not only what they've done for Market Hack and the Idea Center, but you know, as and also as a friend and a client. But you know, more importantly, Jorge is really an incredible shining example of someone that was successful not only in corporate America but also as an entrepreneur. And I always mention that to people, particularly here in Miami, which is such an entrepreneurial city. Is it's 2 very different skill sets to be successful in sort of a corporate environment, and another one is to be successful building a business from scratch. I've done a lot of the former, I haven't done a lot of the latter, and I have a unique, I think, respect and admiration for people who do that. And Jorge has done that extraordinarily successfully, and República is one of the fastest growing companies, as he mentioned, not in Miami, but in the country, period, certainly one owned by Hispanics. So thank you, Jorge, for being so generous with your introduction. And also a quick thank you and congratulations to not only to MDC, but to the whole entire community here at MDC, starting with my good friend Eduardo Padron, who's such a pioneer in this community. And year after year, decade after decade, and I say that with love and admiration for him, he has always found a way to innovate. And I think the growth of MDC throughout the decades is synonymous of the growth and evolution that we've seen here in Miami. And I think that's why it makes us all so proud for those of us that grew up here to see the evolution of our city. And I think Market Hack is the best example of that innovation. And so congratulations to you also, Leandro, for everything. And anyways, thank you for having me here today.
So to my 3-year-old daughter.
To your 3-year-old daughter. Look, clearly we're living in a time of tremendous change in consumption patterns when it comes to media. And we're seeing it not only with the younger generation, like your daughter, we're also seeing it with some of the older generation. And, we are in a world where the power of consuming content has moved from the programmer or the content provider. That power has now moved to the consumer. That consumer is deciding what content they want to see, when they want to see it, and in what device or in what manner they want to see that content. And so with that in mind, I think we all are cognizant of it, we're all aware of it, and we function in that reality. What are some of the things that are occurring, or what are some of the things that we're doing to react to that? I think first is content, or the value of content, I think has increased. What do I mean by that? You've all heard throughout the years, for those of you that follow a little bit of business, this saying that content is king. In other words, that it doesn't matter what goes on in media, how good the content, that's what matters. And I think that's more true today than it's ever been, in the sense that as long as one has amazing content, as long as someone controls and creates their own content, then you're okay with having that content live in every place and in every device. And I think that's certainly what the philosophy that we at NBCUniversal have taken on. We produce amazing content around the world. That's certainly the philosophy that we at Telemundo Enterprises here in Miami have taken on.
So just to orient folks,
yes.
We're talking about Jimmy Fallon, right? We're talking about Seth Meyers and your night lineup. We're talking about your news program,
sure.
Programming. We're talking about Saturday Night Live and the whole library. What are a couple other kind of signature pieces of content that?
Sure. Look, just to put it a little.
Just to kind of orient folks.
No, of course. Look, to put it in context, NBC, to take a step back, NBCUniversal, Comcast NBCUniversal is the largest diversified media company in the world. On the Comcast side, we provide the Comcast cable service that many of you, such as myself, subscribe to get television service or video service. On the NBCUniversal side, we're essentially a media and entertainment company, and we do 6 businesses essentially. The first is the broadcast television business. So we have NBC, the network, and we have Telemundo, the broadcast network. Our second business is the cable networks business. We have 16 cable networks, ranging from USA, the network, Bravo, E, Sci-Fi, all these entertainment networks, to news networks like CNBC and MSNBC and the like. We're in the film business. Universal Films is, Hollywood. This year we did everything. Our movies were everything from Jurassic Park to Furious 7 to 50 Shades of Grey and the like. We're in the theme park business, Universal Parks, Orlando, LA, and parks throughout the world. And we're in the digital business. NBCUniversal Digital Enterprises is all of our different digital businesses. All of those businesses outside of the United States make up NBCUniversal International. So that's a quick snapshot. So to go to your question, yes, our content, we have premium content in all type of genres, from Jimmy Fallon to Saturday Night Live to 30 Rock to all the different scripted comedy series that we have on NBC, to I think premium news content on NBC News and the like. All of our sports business, we have everything from rights to the Olympics to rights to the FIFA World Cup here in the United States. And on the
Is that true in English and in Spanish?
It's true in just Spanish.
Yeah.
So specifically, Telemundo Enterprises has the rights to the World Cup now, starting in this next cycle in Russia in 2018. So we have this amazing content sort of across platform. To go to your daughter's example, Sprout is our, children's brand or children's content provider and network. And so, we produce a lot of the content for Sprout, so we want to make sure that that Sprout content exists on whatever iPad or whatever device or smart TV that your daughter's going to consume, because we're comfortable with that as long as she's watching our content. We're comfortable at Telemundo Enterprises putting out our new Super Series product like El Señor de los Cielos. We're comfortable that you'll watch it on Telemundo or you'll watch it on another device as long as you're watching us.
I hope it's okay to tell you, but I am tired of Maya the Bee. I've never been so kind of conversant in children's programming. If anyone wants to have a long conversation about my theory of Peppa the Pig, I'll tell you. So you oversee this behemoth's international operations. You oversee Telemundo Enterprises, and you also oversee digital. So sort of kind of three legs of this many-legged stool. What I was struggling with is understanding how those all fit together. They don't feel quite connected, but maybe you could help me understand why those three.
Sure. Look, I think they are very different. So we run them as independent businesses, and the first thing I'd say is, the only reason I or anyone could do these type of roles is because I think we have amazing teams throughout NBCUniversal in each of the businesses. And here in Miami, we have an incredible team in Telemundo Enterprises. So we have great people that grow those businesses in different ways. So on the surface, there's not that much similarity. Having said that, there is a lot of complementary aspects to it and things that benefit from each other. Look, first is these three businesses are the growth businesses of not only NBCUniversal, but usually of any large media company. International and Telemundo Enterprises are big businesses that are growing very well, and so that's wonderful. Digital, on the other hand, it's the future. It's still in the early stages, but it's growing incredibly fast. So I think that's great. I think the other sort of overlap that we have is each of these businesses can be complementary to each other. So in Latin America, we're seeing the Telemundo business help the NBCUniversal Latin America business and vice versa. Here in the United States, we're seeing the digital business help the Telemundo business because Hispanics are over-indexed on the usage of social media, on the consumption of mobile and mobile devices. And so we're seeing a little bit of complementary help from each of these divisions to their businesses.
We're going to talk about kind of each of these three businesses, and because they have some complements, but often are kind of different. I mean, for the context of Market Hack, a digital marketing program, obviously the digital piece is the most interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit later about CISO, which is a really interesting kind of experiment that you guys are going to be launching come early next year. But let's start with NBC International, and specifically, can you talk to me about how Latin America fits into that broader international strategy?
Sure. I mean, look, from a macro perspective, for NBCUniversal International, our biggest contributor to our business outside of the United States is Europe. But that's a very big business. It's relatively mature. It's growing, but not growing as fast of a pace. So when we look at the world, the two regions of the world that are the biggest growth opportunities for us are Asia, including China, and Latin America. Now, when we think of Latin America, we sort of bifurcate it or sort of split it in two worlds, is Brazil and then Spanish-speaking Latin America. In Brazil, we have two very important businesses, joint ventures that we operate down in Brazil with the largest media company in Brazil called Globo. And we are partners with Globo, where we launch cable networks, where we provide movies and movie services to the Brazilian market. And it's something we've been doing for over 10 years, and it's been very successful for us. On the Spanish-speaking Latin America side, we have a number of different cable networks that are part of NBCUniversal International. USA, the network, for those of you that are familiar with that cable network here in the United States, exists outside of the United States. It's not called USA, it's called Universal. Not many people outside of the United States want to watch a network called USA. They prefer to watch Universal, and so that's what we call it outside of the United States. We have E, the entertainment network, just like it exists here in the United States. It exists in Latin America with entertainment content, specifically for Latin America, and so on and so forth. And then Telemundo International is the Telemundo version of the network, but focused on Latin America or Spanish-speaking Latin America. So we have a lot of different businesses. We see a lot of potential growth there. And, look, for us, particularly at the Telemundo Enterprises piece of our business, Miami, as we all like to say, is the capital of Latin America in many places. And so we have a lot of interaction as far as partnerships in Latin America. Right. We have great executives and great talent in front and behind the camera that come from Latin America here to Miami. So it's a part of the world that not only do we see as a growth business for us, as far as NBC Universal, but we also see as such a strategic asset for us, particularly for Telemundo Enterprises.
So it's sort of, in addition to being a growth market, it's a market where you can kind of begin to experiment to better understand the Hispanic market in the U.S.?
I don't know if I'd say to better understand the Hispanic market in the U.S., but I would say that it allows us to tap into ideas that we think could work here. By the way, we also have ideas that we develop here in the U.S. Hispanic market that we think work outside of the United States and Latin America particularly.
So kind of figuring out.
But figuring out what may work. But look, it's also a place to attract talent. We have, there's great executives, great producers, great on-air talent that comes from Latin America.
Which
we also
is
have
less
a lot.
true, say, of the Asia market.
That's exactly right.
Because you have Telemundo.
Well, we have
Spanish
50. We have 50.
Channel.
To quote Jorge, we have 56+ million Hispanics in this country that are hungry for content that is culturally relevant to them, and we produce it here in the States. We focus it on the U.S. Hispanic experience, but there's clearly talent that we can tap into outside.
Yeah. So let's switch gears for a second. Talk about Telemundo. There was a recent article in the Miami Herald about the success that Telemundo is having at the expense of your old stomping grounds, Univision. I'm curious, as you guys start to pull even to Univision, how do you feel? Do you this is sort of like Yankees Red Sox, and you're now with the Red Sox, the kind of perennial underdogs who's starting to win. Tell me about that a little bit. What it's like to, just on a personal level, to start to pound into the ground some of your old friends.
Yeah, well, look, as I always say, it's we're not competing directly against any particular company. I've just always been so passionate about the Hispanic community and the Hispanic experience here in the United States. Not only because I was born here and grew up here, but I think it just fills me with tremendous pride when I see the growth of Hispanic media and the growth of Spanish language media here in the States. You're being so polite. No, it's
Come on.
It's the truth.
We're at a bar. We're sharing a beer.
That's right.
I'm your old Univision buddy, and I'm like, stop hurting it. Stop it, man. Stop taking the playbook from it.
That's very funny. But what is fascinating, I will tell you, is we are living through what I would define as a tectonic shift in Hispanic media. Yeah. I will tell you that in 50+ years, we haven't seen some of these trends, and for the first time here in the United States, Hispanic America is increasingly and at a pretty fast pace, and we're seeing accelerating, choosing Telemundo as their choice of place to get their news, their entertainment, their sports, and the place that they go to spend time with their family. And so it's
let me just put a quick number on that. I mean, in July of 2013, so 2 years ago, there was a gap between Univision and Telemundo in prime time of 1.2 million. It was 40,000 this July, and you've pulled even.
Yeah, no, we've done. The team has done a nice job. And so
when did you join Telemundo?
Was it July of 2013? So I joined in October of 2013. I joined NBC Universal. There
is a coincidence in timing.
It's better to be lucky than good, I always say.
We're talking to César Conde número dos, by the way, right now. Numero uno is retired.
So I would tell you, there's probably a few things that I would contribute to, I think, the change in the marketplace. One is Telemundo has done, I think, a great job of laser focusing on the U.S. Hispanic market, the U.S. Hispanic experience. In other words, they're not thinking about other markets outside of the United States before they think of the U.S. You know, second is they have, the team has experimented and developed different type of programming, innovative type of content for Spanish language TV that's never been seen before. And so, you know, as a third point, I'd give you a few examples. You know, we're all familiar with the telenovela genre, and in Spanish language TV, it's, you know, it's been successful for, you know, decades, and there's still some great success to it. But what I think Telemundo has successfully done is they've introduced new genres into Spanish TV. So what are some examples? One is a genre that Telemundo has dubbed called the Super Series. It is what I call, you know, a scripted action thriller or series. It's Homeland meets Breaking Bad. We haven't seen that type of film-like high-quality production value in Spanish TV here in the United States. Telemundo took that bet, and fortunately it's paid off for them very well. And the audience here in the United States whose tastes, whose consumption is used to seeing high-quality content, period. They're used to watching Homeland. They're used to watching Breaking Bad. And so when you provide that type of high-quality content in a manner that's culturally relevant or connects in a unique cultural way, that resonates with the audience.
I mean, just to put context on this, like, I'm going to get this slightly wrong. I lived in Argentina and watched telenovelas there, but the telenovelas were produced at extraordinarily high volumes, like an hour a day.
Yep.
Very relatively low production values, incredibly high volume. They would ruin your life for the 6 months they ran, and then they would end, right? Because you couldn't not watch it, but it was an hour a day, and there were 2 you were watching, and then 6 months later they would like literally just end it, and then they would start a new set of telenovelas. This is, I think, the Super Series is a higher production value, sort of more referring to the kind of tastes of a audience that's seeing
that's here in the United States,
network television,
that's used to some of the content they're seeing in English, but they just haven't had, again, a culturally relevant option in Spanish language. And so we're talking to them. You know, we're doing seasons. So if we see a Super Series that works, we'll do a season 2. We'll do a season 3. So it allows
traditionally hasn't been.
Traditionally has
telenovelas
has not
end
been done.
And you get your life back.
Has not been done. Look, we're in.
Like Game of Thrones, right? We're all waiting for it, and we're like,
that's
you know, when is Game of Thrones coming back?
No, that's exactly right. You know, we've tried to introduce other new genres. Like we have this great genre that the team has dubbed called biomusicals. And what does that mean? It's a biography on a music legend. And so right now we're airing one on Celia Cruz on Telemundo. And, you know, it's resonated so much with the audience because, one, they've never seen this type of, again, high production value about a cultural icon that you're never going to see that necessarily on HBO or Showtime or ABC or CBS or even NBC. So that's been a lot of fun. Look, I think the other thing that's working very well is the content that we're making here in the U.S. is very socially, has a lot of the capacity to go viral. And we produce our content with social media in mind. And so I think that's really helped. And look, the final secret, I think, to our success over the last few years has been NBCUniversal. NBCUniversal has given us tremendous investment and support, which has allowed us to do this. We can produce this high-quality content focused on Spanish language. We can go out and get the rights to the World Cup. We can go out and get the rights to the Olympics in Spanish language. Those things cannot be overlooked. And so, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. We're doing this little by little, but, you know, we feel we're in a unique moment certainly for Telemundo Enterprises, but for NBCUniversal as well.
Yeah. You know, in the Miami Herald article, they pointed to kind of 5 main strategic initiatives. You've named several of them. I want to mention the 5 just to kind of put it in context and then talk to you about the last one. So one is the sort of telenovelas and super series content strategy. The second is really aggressive approach to breaking news. The third was reality television geared towards the Hispanic audience. The fourth was sports, specifically the FIFA World Cup, all the way through 2026, so for the next decade. And then the last one, which I wanted to talk to you more about, was community outreach.
Yeah.
And specifically looking ahead to the presidential election, the hashtag Yo Decido campaign. Talk to us about what that is about.
So look, I think we all know, any of us that watch the news, we as a Hispanic community, I would say, and I'm overgeneralizing here, but the Hispanic demographic is going to be the swing vote in this presidential cycle. No, it is very difficult for anyone to get to the White House without speaking to the Hispanic electorate. I'd also give you another factoid that every month, 50,000 Hispanics turn 18. Every month in this country, 50,000 Hispanics turn 18. So we are adding to the voting rolls in a tremendous manner. So this is.
Can we change that statistic?
Sure.
To every month, 50,000 Hispanics are turning 15, and then we have all the quinceañeras that are happening all across the country. One massive quinceañera for all 50,000. We could have them in the stadium.
That's a new business we should look into.
That is a big quinceañera, right?
But with that context in mind, this is a big election cycle, a big political season, and so as you mentioned, we are doing a lot of things. One of the things that we're doing, outside of the things that one would expect, convention coverage, so on and so forth, we are really trying to focus our political coverage towards Latino millennials, and that's why we led with this hashtag Yo Decido campaign. One, because it's going to get the word out as to what's going on with the various campaigns. Just this week, coincidentally, we launched our new Telemundo News app, which we're very, very excited about. But we also believe that it's our job to provide all of the different perspectives that are out there from the various candidates. So we're going to do that. But we also believe that we want to empower our community and make sure that they have the ability to have their voices